I was just glad to get back. It was good for everybody to get away and see their families and get some quality time away from this building. But now that everybody's back, we're focusing on doing what we're doing and getting ready for Tampa.
What's your health report?
We don't have one. Everybody's fine. Yeah.
Jay, didn't see Jarvis Jenkins out there. What's up with him?
He just had a touch of the flu bug today.
Is Barry Cofield come off of IR this week, or what's the?
It's this week. We have to make a decision, I believe, by Wednesday, and we're going to talk about that when we get done here.
How much have you missed Barry Cofield, and how much is he going to add to the lineup when he comes back?
He just adds more depth. He's obviously a good player. We think a lot of him. In his absence, guys have stepped up and done some good things, but, add another big body to the mix as far as rotation is concerned, it can't hurt, especially one with his ability. So, when he was playing for us earlier this year, I don't think he was quite 100%. You could see that. Now we feel like he's back to close to 100%, looking good out there, so he'll add to the depth. Yeah.
Jay, what do you think of the comments DeSean made yesterday on Fox? Just Ryan Clark brought it up, too, that he stood up in support of Robert in a team meeting. Were you there, and were you surprised he's not a guy that says a ton for him to talk?
Yeah, I think it stemmed from somebody asking him about the leadership in the locker room, and he was kind of surprised by it. And I think a lot of guys are just a little frustrated by the reports of the lack of leadership because, as a football player, it's a little disheartening when you hear there's no leadership and this is what you do for a living. They all come out here and compete and practice hard, and so he just stood up and just want to make sure everybody's supporting the decisions that we make and staying together in the building, which is good to hear.
But was it a surprise that it was DeSean that would take on
that role? A little
bit,
yeah, it was a little bit. DeSean doesn't say a whole lot. He usually sits there with his hood on, and but it's good. He's starting to open up a little bit, and people have a lot of respect for him as a football player, obviously, for what he does when the lights are on. But now that he's starting to be a little bit more vocal behind the scenes, it's good to see.
Jay, time away, you get a chance to reflect, you get a chance to think about things a little bit more, especially some time off for you. Coming back into this week, is there anything that you thought a lot about that you want to start changing right away? A difference that you want to make now that you can kind of recollect here?
You know what? When you go back and you just look at what's going on, being 3-6, you look at the 6 losses, and there's a play here, a play there, that we're just so close to being 7-2 as opposed to 3-6, and that's the way the NFL is right now. So I think the big thing is we got to continue focusing on situational football, whether it's third downs, whether it's 2-minute drill, whether it's we got the ball at the +40, all we need is 10 yards to get a field goal for overtime or a touchdown. And we've had situations like that throughout the course of the season that we have not converted other than Tennessee. So it's very important for us to continue to, in Dallas, we did a good job, obviously, getting off the field and making plays. But those other games we lost, man, it's just about that. We got to focus in on crunch time plays, let the big-time players make big plays in crunch time, and then obviously the rest of them creating turnovers and not turning the ball over and third downs.
Did you find things in the big picture, schematically, play calling, anything like that, you're going either, wow, we should have done more of this, or why do we keep doing that?
Yeah, you beat yourself up anytime you lose 3-6. You go back and you wish you would have done more of this or less of that or what have you. But as a football coach, you just got to do what you believe in and what you've had success with, what you think your team is going to have success with, and continue to coach them up, and hopefully the players can make the plays that are there. And sometimes they do, sometimes they're not good plays that are called or what have you. But ultimately, it's about us as a staff coming together with a game plan we feel good about, coaching what we know, and then the players going out and making things happen. And unfortunately, in those 6 losses, it was a combination of, whether it's not great scheme or guys not making plays, turning the ball over, what have you. There's a lot of reasons that go into losing, but the big thing is moving forward is learn from our mistakes, move forward to Tampa Bay, and control what we control. And that's how we play, how we compete every down.
Jay, did you see some things in the few games leading up to the bye that maybe give you a little bit more reason to believe that you guys can turn things around in the second half, or some subtle things, some big things that you saw?
Yeah, absolutely. We beat Tennessee. We come from behind with Colt, our third quarterback coming in. And then we go to Dallas and beat a team that was playing as good a football as anybody in the NFL at their place on Monday Night Football. So those 2 great games. And then obviously the Minnesota game, we're still sickened by that one. Frustrated, obviously, but there are some things the last 3 weeks that we've accomplished that are pretty darn good, both sides of the ball and special teams. So I think moving forward, I think people can see that we have the makings of a good football team. We just got to put it all together and stay consistent in our approach and how we play. And the lack of consistency is the most frustrating, whether it's pass rush, sometimes it's dropping a man in coverage on defense. Offensively, maybe it's a throw on third down, or a guy missing a hole, or protection, or what have you. It's a combination of things. We just got to seek better consistency and play better.
With Hankerson coming off the PUP list, you now have 7 wide receivers. How are you gonna manage that situation, and what are you looking forward to seeing from Hank?
Yeah, it's a tough deal. The wide receiving room is very full, and they're all very good, actually, I think. The guys that aren't playing or aren't really producing are still excellent wideouts. I think Santana could be very productive in a lot of offenses, same with Aldrich. And now you throw Leonard in the mix, and he's another one. It's a big receiver that has great hands and runs good routes. So how we're going to use him, I don't know yet. It's better to have too many than not enough, I guess. But I'm sure it's frustrating for those guys who aren't getting the touches, and it's sometimes frustrating for guys like, who are playing, who aren't getting enough touches. But we just got to continue going about our business and focus on winning games and not so much worried about the touches. The touches will come for everybody, but, we just got to manage it the best way we can, and we don't know how that's going to be yet.
Jay, when you took over as compared to now, now that you've had 9 games to evaluate, where do you think you are depth-wise? Are you better than you thought initially, or are you a little worse than you thought initially? How would you compare?
Yeah, we're a little worse, obviously, with the injuries, that everybody's, all teams are going through right now. Usually about week 9, week 10, teams' depth becomes jeopardized with the injuries. And that's what's happened to us. When you lose D'Angelo Hall and you lose Rakpo and key guys like that, it hurts you a little bit. But, I think from an offensive standpoint, we just talked about the receivers. Certain positions we're really good at depth-wise. Other ones we're a little shaky. We're a little shaky. Losing a Rakpo kind of hurt the outside linebacker position a little bit, pass rush. Obviously, D'Angelo hurt the corner spot a little bit. But overall, I think our depth is pretty good where we can go out on Sunday and compete against anybody.
Robert got to play a game, then he had a breakaway, now he's back. What is his mindset like? How much talks have you guys had since got back?
We just had a brief meeting today, about 45 minutes, and then we had practice. So today was about getting back into the flow and doing what we do offensively and defensively, and tomorrow they'll have another day off, mandatory day off, and then we'll get back to work on Wednesday. But I think, all the players are ready to get back on the field. You lay an egg in Minnesota, you have to have a bye week, unfortunately, but I think guys are excited to start the last 7 games and hopefully rally.
If I could ask one more about Robert. Obviously, most of your players probably were ready for the bye to just rest after 9 weeks, and kind of the opposite, having played so sparingly. On balance, was a rest at that point after his first full game in some time a good thing for him, or did it halt some progression otherwise? Do you have a sense of?
Yeah, I don't know. I think the bye week's a bye week. Everybody has one. It affects people different ways. I don't think it hurts them or helps them, either one. Just a bye week. He had 4 or 5 days off. He's able to get away with his wife and chill out somewhere, and he's ready to go. I think the majority of guys probably enjoyed the bye week, but they probably didn't want one the way we left off against Minnesota. I hope they didn't anyway. I know I didn't. But everybody's ready to get back to work, including Robert.
Jay, as you look back and sort of evaluate where you are, you said there's a couple of misplays here, a missed tackle here, a missed throw there on third downs. Obviously, it's not what you're coaching. As you look at how do you fix those mistakes that seem to always creep up in a crucial moment?
Yeah, I don't know if they're just mistakes or guys not making plays or what have you. Sometimes they are bad calls by coaches. Who knows? It's a combination of things. When you lose, we all have to take responsibility. But it's different every time. Sometimes it's a questionable call, that's very costly that doesn't help any. But, those things get magnified when you lose, and they get swept under the rug when you win. And unfortunately, we've lost more than we won, and you go through each game, the Arizona game, the Philadelphia game, the Minnesota game, the Houston game. You can go through that film, and one play here or there is a difference in the football game, and play we didn't make, or maybe we blew a coverage, something. This has great consequences over the outcome of the game, and those are things that we just have to continue to coach and magnify and make sure we get them corrected.
Hey, Jay. I know that the first time you guys played Tampa this year in the preseason was under a less serious setting. But is there anything, and obviously the starters didn't play in that game, but is there anything that can be taken from that game schematically that will help for this meeting?
Yeah, not really. I think schematically, from a front and a coverage standpoint, they kind of the same. They've changed a little bit, but for the most part, the last preseason game is about making sure you know who's going to make your football team and getting your backups secured and the 53-man roster the way you want it. So that was what that was for. So we don't really watch that. You wouldn't even watch that game on tape. But for the most part, Tampa's changed a lot. And they have very good defense. Personnel-wise on defense, they're a little bit banged up last week, but they're very competitive on defense, and offensively they got some weapons now. So they're 1-8. They're in a similar situation as we are. They're scratching their heads. They've lost to some close games, games that they thought they should have won, but ultimately it comes down to, like I said, the difference in 1-8 and 6-2 or 6-3 in this league is very, very minimal. And the teams that are playing with good records are the teams that are making those plays, those clutch plays at the end of games, and not turning the ball over and doing what's necessary. All right, thank you.